Nothing screams perfectionism like the perfectionist urge to fix something that's not actually broken. So let's talk about it. You're listening to the Life Edit Project podcast, the show where I spill all the tea to help recovering perfectionists feel better, do better, and have better relationships. I'm your favorite life coach and podcast host, Coach Elizabeth Burrows, and today we're going to talk about the struggle of learning to live in the weird gray area of I don't like it like this. Ready? Let's go. Good day, good people. Welcome to episode 115 of the Life Edit Project podcast. I almost didn't make it here this week. I am in a stretch season and I'm putting a lot of energy into other projects, and I just didn't know what I had left for the podcast this week. And I'm keeping it real because I want you to know that just because I'm a coach, it doesn't mean that I have my life 100% figured out and that everything is 100% under control 100% of the time. I do not. That is not my life. I am just as imperfect as you are. And I am also a recovering perfectionist. And that's also part of what makes me such an effective coach. I have experience on both ends of the spectrum. I know what it means to struggle with indecision and procrastination. I know what it's like to be fighting for your life, trying to hold everything together and looking good on the outside while struggling on the inside and feeling like you're drowning. I get it. But I also know what it's like to get past those things. I know that it's possible to get unstuck no matter how long you've been stuck. And I've learned how to let things go. I've learned how to recover from my own failures. As a coach, I also have the experience of having coached and worked with over 100 people to overcome some of the same challenges. And so I've developed over time my own set of tools and frameworks and concepts to be able to help people overcome those same challenges faster and easier and with less drama. So even though I'm in the middle of my own struggle this week and I feel like I'm on the struggle bus, I decided to just use my experience to bring you something helpful. And so this week I'm going to speak not from my personal experience, but from my experience as a coach. And the thing that is on my mind this week is how much perfectionists struggle to deal with imperfection, not just in themselves, but actually in the people and in the environment around them, the conditions that they exist in. A lot of perfectionists, they don't just want to be perfect. They want a perfect family. They want a perfect career, a perfect body, a perfect social life. They want a perfect attitude, a perfect feed on Instagram, right? So when life doesn't live up to that perfectionist fantasy, it feels like a problem. And a lot of us, we have this reflex to fix the imperfections because our instincts are telling us that it's not supposed to be this way. Or even worse, we think that if we were just handling our business, then things wouldn't be like this in the first place. And so if you have perfectionist tendencies, maybe you've had thoughts like this before. Maybe this resonates. Maybe this feels familiar. And if that's the case, here is what I want you to consider. Maybe nothing has gone wrong. What if the existence of imperfection is just a given in this life and it's not actually a problem that needs fixing? So one of the things I've been helping some of my clients with lately is to just be better at sitting in the discomfort of imperfect conditions that are beyond their control. Because one of the things that makes perfectionism such a challenge is that we tend to believe that we can work our way into a more perfect situation, that there's something we can do that would make everything better. We tell ourselves, if I prep harder, if I'm more organized, if I'm more of an expert, if I get another degree, if I wear a better suit, if I learn to do it faster and better than everybody else, if I just show up more perfectly, then I can solve for the imperfection. But that's what we call a thought error here in the coaching industry, because that's just your brain using bad logic to create the version of reality that it would rather deal with. Let me give you an example of what this looks like. Let's say you've got a kid and your kid plays ball and you're convinced that your kid has what it takes to go pro. But your kid, They're just not that into it. They're not that competitive. They're cool just playing for fun, and they don't care about trophies or rankings or earning scholarships. That could be really frustrating for you. And so maybe you start pushing. You start arguing with them about practicing more. You're signing them up for the summer travel league. You're hiring a private trainer to help them develop. You're doing all the things and throwing all the techniques and resources at them to help them live up to their potential. But then one day they come to you and they tell you that they don't want to play anymore. To you, that feels like a problem. But nothing has actually gone wrong. It's just not what you wanted, and your kids' aspirations, their hopes and their dreams, that's not up to you. Now, I get it. That's a hard pill for most perfectionists to swallow. Just because you want something doesn't mean you're entitled to it. And believing something should happen doesn't make it true. Wanting your kid to be a pro athlete doesn't mean that it's wrong if that's not what they end up doing or if it's not what they want for their life. Perfectionism, though, it'll have you believing that you can fix everything. But that is a trap, because the only thing that any of us can ever control is ourselves. So, sometimes the most perfect thing we can do is just sit in the uncomfortable reality of imperfect conditions, to accept the parts of life that aren't up to us, especially when we'd rather that those things were different. And there are two reasons why this matters. One, your vision of perfection isn't always better. You can still grow and thrive and evolve in imperfect conditions. It doesn't have to be a problem just because you don't like it. And if you got what you wanted, that doesn't necessarily mean that you would be better off or that life would be more perfect. And two, this matters because a lot of the imperfections that you're so obsessed with aren't even worth your attention. And this episode is not about convincing you to settle or to encourage you to give up or to shrink or to race to the bottom, right? It's not about choosing the path of least resistance or taking the easy way out. None of that. It's about redirecting all of your big, brilliant, beautiful brain energy into the things that actually matter, the things that you can actually control and influence. That's the best way to create the life that you want. So again, this week, I'm not going to give you a cute acronym or a cute little 3-step strategy. And that's because getting past perfectionism, it isn't always cute or so clean cut. Sometimes it's just uncomfortable. And that's okay too. Discomfort in and of itself is also not a problem. And so I'm not going to try to fix it for you on this episode. But what I will do is help you get better at telling the difference between a problem and a not problem. And what I will do is give you the tools and the techniques to deal with the actual problems instead of just spitting out and staying stuck. Now, if that's the kind of momentum that you want in your life, the ability to fix real problems without falling into the trap of perfectionism, book a call with me to sign up for my one-on-one coaching program. Because the magic happens when you hire me as your personal coach and we work together over time. So use the link that's in the show notes to get on my calendar and let's get started. All right, folks, that's all for today. I will be back in your ears next week with another juicy episode. Until then, peace.